केवल नाइक फ्रॉम मॉरिशस। सर मैं सत्र की शुरुआत करने की अनुमति चाहूंगा प्रोफेसर कुमार रत्न सर से।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल प्रारंभ।
सर थैंक यू सर। सर चूंकि एक हमारे जो चीफ गेस्ट हैं प्रोफेसर केवल नाइक सर मॉरिशस से, वो उन्हें कहीं जाना है और वो चाह रहे हैं कि उनका पहले करा लें हम, तो आपकी अनुमति से सर मैं पहले उन्हें बुलाना चाहता हूँ।
बिल्कुल
जी सर। प्रोफेसर केवल नाइक सर मॉरिशस से, सर प्लीज आइए, अपना उद्बोधन दीजिए सर, आपका स्वागत है सर।
हाँ जी, नमस्कार। हाँ हाँ, तो रेस्पेक्टेड प्रोफेसर्स, जितने भी हैं all protocol observed, I'm really happy। मैं हिंदी में कुछ कहना चाहूँगा। सर्वप्रथम कि प्रोफेसर मुख्यतः अनिलेश कुमार सिंह को मैं विशेष धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा। और उन्होंने एक लिंक बनाई और पूरे विश्व को एक सूत्र में बांधा, और ये जो दिवसीय जो अंतर्राष्ट्रीय वेबिनार का आयोजन हुआ, बहुत ही सार्थक लाभप्रद रहा है। और मैं सभी को मैं विशेष रूप से मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा। और देखिए, बात यह है कि अपनी बात को जोड़ने के लिए एक मंच चाहिए, और कहीं ना कहीं जो ये कोविड-19 का जो महामारी ये जो हुआ है, उससे हम लोग एक प्रकार से जुड़े, एक सूत्र में बंधे। और हम लोगों का मुख्यतः सब प्रकार से जो भी समस्याएं हैं, हम उसका समाधान ढूंढने के लिए हमने इस वेबिनार का आयोजन किया। और अ, जो विषय रहा है, इम्पैक्ट ऑफ प्रेजेंट सिनेरियो ऑन द लाइफ एंड वर्ल्ड, तो ये मुख्य रूप से लोगों पर प्रभावित जो छाप पड़ी है, और इससे हम अ, अभी भी निकलने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। कुछ जो देश जो है निकल चुके हैं, और कुछ उसमें है। और मॉरिशस एक ऐसा देश है जो इससे मतलब जूझ रहा है, और हम लोग निकल चुके हैं, लेकिन पूरी तरह से नहीं, अभी भी कुछ है, लेकिन आइसोलेटेड रूप से है। तो आज जो मैं सबसे प्रथम मैं अपनी बात में रखूंगा कि जो पर्यावरण से संबंधित है, जो मेरे विषय से जो शोध कार्य से प्रिय है, कि जैसे कि कहा गया है अथर्ववेद में, सर्वो वै तत्र जीवति गौरवश्चः पुरुषः पशुः यन्नेदं ब्रह्म क्रियते परिधि जीवनायकम। अर्थात जहाँ पर्यावरण शुद्ध रहता है, वहाँ मनुष्य, पशु पक्षी आदि सभी सुख पूर्वक जीवित रहते हैं। तो जो मेरा जो विषय रहेगा, थोड़ा सा मैं पर्यावरण पर मैं बात करूंगा। और हमारी जो संस्कृति है, जहाँ पर एग्रीकल्चर है, कल्चर है, तो उससे काफी हम जुड़े हुए हैं। और हम लोगों का जो बैकग्राउंड है, वो मूलतः हम भारत से हैं, और यहाँ पर आए हमने कृषि को आगे रखा, पर्यावरण को सामने रखा। इसलिए हम लोग जो हैं पर्यावरण से जो उसकी सुरक्षा में हम उस पर विश्वास करते हैं, महत्व देते हैं। और हम लोग को कि यहाँ मुख्य रूप से जो पर्यटक आते हैं, उससे हम लोगों का एक बहुत अच्छी प्रकार से हम लोगों को वहाँ से we get currencies from there. So regarding the human relationship to the environment and our conduct to it, different worldviews are there in practice among the human communities, out of which anthropocentrism, biocentrism, cosmocentrism, deep ecology, dark blue, and spiritual ecology are worth mention. These ideologies about our position and conduct with nature are chiefly divided into three according to the ontological and methodological approaches of them. First, providing nature outside humans as having only utility value. Second, as having only existence value. And the third, as having both utility and existence values. These perspectives are based on the alternatives of giving highest importance to human beings as superior to environment, or as evaluating both as same value. No doubt, classical Sanskrit texts, which is my area, we give proper place to these values and perspectives about our relation to the surroundings and define our obligations and responsibilities to the nature in a way that culminates in spiritual ecology. So मूलतः जो हम देखते हैं कि हम मनुष्य जो हैं बाकी जो पर्यावरण है उसको हम किस प्रकार से देखते हैं हम पर्यावरण को क्या हमारी दृष्टि है कि हम खाली उसका उपयोग करें उसका दोहन करें तो क्या होता है कि जो मेरा जो विषय रहा है कि शोध कि किस प्रकार से हम मनुष्य जो हैं हम the spirit which lies within us and outside us, it's more or less the same. It's not different. This is the main perspective that I wanted to share with you. And I will be trying to be very brief in the sense that I have had another commitment, but since we had decided to be part of that webinar, I wanted to be there to share my views in very nutshell. And I would also wish to thank all the academics, to thank you people on behalf of all Merchant academics. We had Dr. Vedika, Professor Vedika Chikuri, we had Professor Devi, Professor Patya, Professor Gopul from Mauritius, who got the opportunity, and including myself, and on behalf of, in my own name, and as the head of School of Indian Studies from Mahatma Gandhi Institute, I would wish you all well, and thank you very much, and we wish to have more collaborations in the future, and we hope that this is the beginning, okay, and we will come up with more research, and all scholars, eminent scholars throughout the globe, throughout India and all, I wish you all well, and we wish to collaborate in future. Thank you very much. Dhanyavad.
Thank you very much, Professor Kebal Naik from Mauritius. Thank you very much. हम कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ाते हुए अपने अगले वक्ता जो हमारे आज के कीनोट स्पीकर भी हैं, प्रोफेसर रविचंद्रन मूर्ति फ्रॉम मलेशिया. I would like to call him to please come at the dais and deliver your speech, sir, please. Professor Ravichandran Murthy from Malaysia.
Good morning. What's the time now? Good evening, everybody.
Okay, sir.
I'm 2.5 hours ahead, so right now it's about 5:40 in the evening. My name is Ravi. Thank you so much for the invitation. Professor Anilesh Kumar was kind enough to invite me. I'm just looking at the photos in my screen now. I can see Professor Balaganapathy, who I met some years ago. The rest of you are very new to me. Maybe if you open your photos, then probably I may recognize you. My name is Ravi. I teach at the National University of Malaysia here in Kuala Lumpur. Born in Malaysia, so I'm second generation of Indians who have migrated to this country. So my grandparents came about 120 years ago to Malaysia. A former bureaucrat, I was in the ministries, then about 10, 12 years back, I decided to join the academia. I teach international relations, and I have also very deep interest in philosophy, and also especially in Indian philosophy. I worked closely with Professor Panir Selvam on some publication projects of Chennai. You may know him in some publication and also research and seminar series. The organizers have not given me a topic to talk or not, so I'm guessing that we are free to talk on any particular topic of interest. And it's very important at this point of time that we relook at how we conduct our lives, how we conduct our business. It's no longer business as usual. It is what we call the new normal. And everybody around the world are talking about new normal. What is the new normal? So I'm going to talk about the new normal from my perspective and how it has changed from. Is it audible?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Are
sir.
you able to see me and hear me?
Yeah, it's audible.
Yes, sir. Please.
Not sure why they got no, I got locked out and brought me in again. So I'm going to use my slides. How long do I have, Professor Anilesh?
30 minutes, sir.
30 minutes. Okay, I'll
Yes,
time
sir.
myself as well.
Okay, sir.
Okay, all right. I'll share my screen with the rest. All right, and we will look at this.
Yeah.
This is my screen. Okay, I hope all of you are able to see my screen. Okay. So the topic is actually my view on what is the impact of present scenario on the life and the world. So I'm guessing the present scenario that we are looking at is essentially about the COVID-19 period. If we were to look at the COVID-19 pandemic, it's actually very interesting because it is a pandemic which is of global proportion. Because it has impacted everybody. It has impacted almost all nations in the country and all regions. Now you just have to go to the WHO website, and if you go to the WHO website, there is a map. You can go to the map, and you just have to bring the cursor to the respective countries, and it will give you a daily update on what's happening. And I've also captured some of the daily updates here. If you were to see worldwide, we have already more than 10 million confirmed cases. All right, this is as of 2 hours ago, the figures. And out of that, almost 500,000 deaths. Okay, India alone, up to yesterday, probably up to this morning, there are more than 500,000 confirmed cases with almost 16,000 deaths. Malaysia, we fare quite well. In fact, of course, our population base is also small. There were about, up to yesterday, it was 8,634 cases with 121 deaths. Now, if you were to look at countries like the United States and Brazil, the numbers, are really staggering. You find that there's more than almost 2.5 million people that are confirmed cases, and out of that, 125,000 people have died. UK as well, and also Brazil. Brazil is also another hotspot. And if you move the cursor in the WHO website, and I was trying to do that in all the countries, a few of the countries. Even if you go to smaller Pacific Island nations like Vanuatu or Fiji, all right? Pacific Island nations where the population is perhaps only in the thousands, there are confirmed cases. So I don't think there is any country in the world at this point of time which do not have confirmed cases of COVID, all right? All countries now. This is a global pandemic in that nature. We have not experienced this kind of pandemic in previous episodes. Now, essentially, when we talk about the COVID-19, it is a travel-related disease. If this same pandemic happened 50 years ago, I don't think it would have been this much spread throughout the world. It's because the intensity of travel, especially air travel, among human beings throughout the world. It is highly infectious, nevertheless, but also the recovery rate is relatively high. In Malaysia, up to yesterday, the recovery rate is 96.5%. So we are doing actually quite well in terms of COVID. But we still do have daily COVID cases, but it's always in either single digit or double digit, lower double digit numbers. All right. Now, another important part of this global pandemic is the actions taken by countries worldwide on this action called lockdown or limited movement. In Malaysia, we call limited movement. In many countries, they have been locked down as well. And that has gone for several months. All right, that has gone for several months. And we have seen countries all around the world making a collective effort primarily in terms of information sharing, and also looking at what are the best practices. This is, to me, is a classic case of multilateralism at its best. As far as the impact is concerned, it is worldwide. Individuals are impacted. Myself, my children, your children, your family members, right? All are affected by it. The society in the whole, as a whole, affected. The nation and also the world. And it is rightly time that we actually think about what are the impacts and how are we going to manage this global pandemic as it goes on. I know that in India, the numbers are actually on the rise. Hopefully, it'll get better soon. Okay, let me go to the next slide. Now, what is the new normal? I'm going to divide my presentation into individuals, into society, state, and also international. The new normal, when we talk about at this point of time, the last 4 months, is the idea of reflection. I think we have gone through this idea of self-reflection and awareness. Why? Because we had more time to do so than previously. Because under the new normal is the way that we look at ourselves and others change. The very notion that when you meet a person, it's a normal thing to give your hand and say hi, hello. Now you are unable to do that. All right. So you are now unlearning a behavior. All right. Unlearning a behavior. So that is something which is extremely difficult for many of us to do. Right? And we become extremely self-conscious because now we look at the potential danger that others may bring to us. So we put gadgets like the face mask. We don't want to touch. We are we become a bit paranoid with this new normal. The second, the fear. I think fearism is actually one of the important factors. To a certain extent, have contributed in better mitigation of this COVID-19 pandemic in many countries, including Malaysia, is the fear that you may infect yourself, infect others. So you're cautious, very cautious about your own behavior, and you're also very fearful and cautious about how people behave with you. Okay. So, even family members, during the lockdown, you are unable to go attend. Even funerals, in Malaysia, even funerals is very difficult to attend. I missed one of my distant uncle who passed away, which is not far from here, but because he stayed in a different state, so I was unable to go. Even if there is a permission given, but it'll take a bit of time. And funerals and weddings, you cannot have more than 20 people attending. Right? There were also cases of an Indian wedding held during the lockdown period, and the temple chairman and the priest were fined. So these are some of the things, especially the idea of vulnerability is also there. We see also in Malaysia, if I could share the Malaysian experience, the vulnerable communities are the communities who are downtrodden and poor, or in a different section on the lower section of the society, are more vulnerable compared to the others. In Malaysia, it is the foreign workers cluster. Those who are here legally and illegally, those from Indonesia, from the Rohingyas, from Myanmar. And we have found several clusters emerging, COVID clusters emerging from these groups. So the vulnerable community, primarily because they live in very closed confined spaces. Some of them are illegal, so we do not know the mechanism, how to bring them. Some of them do not have access to health services. In actual fact, everybody in Malaysia have access to health, including the foreigners. But the fear that they may be caught and sent to prison, and because that is one of the reasons that these people do not want to come up front and get tested. Now, it has also created enormous amount of stress to individuals as well. It is not easy sitting in front and giving a talk in front of the PC, because I'm only looking at one picture of Professor Girish Kumar who is there, and also the screen. So this is a new normal, all right? This is something that we are learning, okay? So that sometimes the changes that we do change itself will bring about some level of stress. And the second point is the idea of seclusion. We are social being individuals, and the idea of being confined to houses, confined to a particular smaller living space, also bring about a lot of stress, because these are changes to your lifestyle and your psychological makeup. Now, the other new normal is the idea of social distancing. This is something that we have to learn. I think after 3 months, I think we are quite cautious about this as well. About personal hygiene, right? I'm sure that how many of you have washed your hands 5-6 times a day? Sometimes we don't do that. Am I right? Huh? Now we are washing ourselves, washing our hands, and every time we go out, we come back, morning, evening, night. All right. So there is a conscious effort being done to actually wash your hands properly. Wearing face masks. Okay. So the face mask business is a big business nowadays. So if you are into what you call personal hygiene products, this is the right time to go in. Okay. Now there is also another new normal that I see is the reduction of the what I call the reduction of self or self-worth. All right, primarily because of there is a loss of income, all right, and job loss that many have experienced. Now, this job loss is not only in the lower strata of society, but also in all aspects. I have an accountant, a friend of mine, who just recently lost a job as well because he was into a particular business that closed down. So this will have a psychological effect on individuals, because as it will take a bit of time for the economy to get back on the right path and job creation to take place. The other new normal is all of us are learning, steep learning curve, all right? I think prior to these 3 months, I've not used any online teaching or an online communication material, or rather method like the Google Meet or Zoom and whatnot. All right, these are something that we learned. All right, so that steep learning curve is there. So this is the age of new digital ecosystem. If you are into online businesses and things of that sort, it's a good time because people are going digital to purchase things and and also services. Now the what do you call that, the circle that you have here, the diagram, this is a diagram done by some other scholars. I wanted to share this as well. I think this is aptly captures the individual predisposition, the concerns. Okay, the first level is actually when we were introduced to this COVID-19 is fear. All right, we were fearful. All right. I remember going to the supermarket on the day, on the very morning the lockdown was announced. Everybody was hoarding what do you call that, items, rice and things of that sort. Everybody was buying, so I also joined the fray because of fear that I may not get it as well. And then there was also this high, what do you call that, the emotion was really high about the fear. Everybody is conscious. People who move near you, they are also conscious of themselves and of the other persons there. All right, so people become fearful of other. All right, and also you get all sorts of messages about this COVID-19, especially when you have a lot of fake news. In Malaysia, among the Indian population here, there was this information which was spread, the benefits of the COVID-19 prevention benefits of drinking rasam, the Indian soup, the South Indian soup. So my wife decided to make rasam every day until today. so I think these are some of the things that we have, the fear zone, okay, and also because of lack of information. Then after a month or so, we moved on to the learning zone. All right, learning zone, we have accepted what is COVID-19. We know information about it, how is it being spread, what are the things that we need to do, and we are now trying to reconcile our own emotions with these new changes. Okay, so I become aware of the situation and I think, how am I going to act in this situation? Okay, so the idea of reconciliation taken place in the learning zone. Then I think as the close down or the lockdown, what do you call that, comes to an end, and there are limited lockdown as what Malaysia is facing now, then you go to the growth zone. You say that how can I embrace these changes? How can I live within this new dynamics, right? This new normal, all right? And how do I manage my emotional relations with others? With this idea of social distancing, all this. So I think these are the things that are happening as an individual that we need to look at. The second is individuals as being socially, if I may borrow Habermas, who talks about the idea of public sphere, and he said the society engage in critical public debate. Okay, that is also other way of looking at it. But the idea of critical debate is also very much diminished in this scenario of COVID-19, because first we speak to people who the face is closed. All right, so the interaction has already, there's a partiality in terms of interaction. We also speak to people in a distance. That means it is, beyond the acceptable social distance, all right, that we normally practice. And when we speak to other people also, there is some level of fear against that person, that the person may be spreading something to us, all right? So that kind of a fear is also there. So the idea of the new normal now is being less social, or less social being, compared to the others. Now it has been facilitated by way of interaction such as this, the digital, what do you call that, interaction pattern. Now we are also been uprooted and physically relocated from a place. Why? Because you are unable to go to work. You are not able to go to school. Like, for example, my children, they have not been to school for the last 4 months, and they say that they want to remain like this. I say it's better. They can get up late. So these are some of the changes that we have. Changes in social connections, friendships, even dating. All right, you are not supposed to kiss your girlfriend also now. All right, feeling of being overwhelmed, sad, and scared. And this happens as well. All right, this happened as well because you do not know what your future holds for you. All right, especially those. I remember the Pakistani president in a TV announcement quite recently mentioned that social distancing is impossible, lockdown is impossible in Pakistan. Primarily is a large section of the population are daily and weekly wage earners. So therefore, they have to work daily in order to support themselves and their families. So these are a lot of changes that are happening in terms of in the society as well. All right. But it has been slowly, communities have been adaptive, and they are now going for what we call social, what do you call that, on online platforms. They have been going on online platforms. You see that we have time. Okay, 6. So I think I have another 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Online platforms in order to interact, to create the interactions. I think here the millennials, the younger generations, are more prepared, more adaptive compared to the older generation. But the older generation are also learning the new communication devices. The fear and apprehension of others. I mentioned to you the fear of others. This is something which is difficult for us to comprehend, because the nature of human beings is that when we meet a friend, we embrace them, we talk nicely. But right now, we are fearful that they may give us some disease, or we are fearful that we may give some disease to them. Okay. Now these are all what I call challenges to the new normal. Right. If I move on, also the state preparedness. Let me go to the state level as well. What is the new normal of the state is actually the state preparedness for disaster. Okay. Now we realize that many countries have been experiencing disaster previously, and they have put in place state preparedness mechanisms in place. Like Malaysia, I think we were quite well prepared in terms of mitigating this pandemic because we already had that preparedness by the state. At the state level, what I mean is a federal and also at the state level. State means here, I mean country, at the country level. Okay. Now we also find the centrally controlled states here countries, all right, what I meant, fare better in coordination among disaster response agencies compared to some other countries which do not have a clear federal-state relationship to disaster management. Okay, there is also disaster preparedness in terms of readiness of the medical people, the surveillance, enforcement, education, the role of religion, which became quite controversial during this period of time, and also the psychological need, right? So I think these are a test to the system where they can come together and work together to mitigate this particular problem, all right? So we have experience prior to this. We had the bird flu, we had SARS, H1N1, MERS, and also now the COVID-19. Disaster communication is extremely important at this point of time because misinformation can easily happen in this age, all right? A lot of misinformation that you can get. So therefore, a proper disaster mechanism, communication by sanctioned agencies or individuals are extremely important to give accurate and timely advice to the masses. We also see international coordination and also chaos. There are certain things. I think one of the, as I mentioned earlier, one of the benefits of the international system is the role of experts in multilateral system, like for example WHO, especially in information sharing and also providing expert advice. And WHO has become a global one-stop center. So I think this is, we have gone beyond the state. We have given a lot of credence, a lot of importance to the role of international organization. But in the same time, also there are chaos in the international system, right? We have to address this. We have the US-China, war, kind of a war, US-China conflict, which is unresolved and has created some problems as well. That's one way to look at it. And also there are also global systems in shambles, like for example the travel industry. They are in big trouble, right? There is also impact on trade and commerce, but slowly it will return back to normal. I hope so. There is also disruption in terms of consumption patterns. In some countries, food security is an issue, and also disaster politicking, right? As I mentioned, US-China bashing. There is also politicization, international bickering between states, all right, with regard to this, and we have seen this quite recently with some countries blaming. I was watching today CNN, they said that there are some problems within Australia and China because of the recent COVID-19 cases. Tendencies are foster international cooperation, which is at one level, it may happen, it is happen. But also it may create disintegrative tendency. Being trained in international relations, I've seen some both level happening, simultaneously at the same time. Now, let me just give you two more examples. Then I will conclude. Is one of the most impacted industry is the travel and tourism industry. All right. I think the fear of travel will be there. I canceled 2 trips, one to Korea and South Korea, and one to Shillong for the IPC, then the Indian Philosophical Conference. All right, some months back because of the COVID-19 fear. All right, so I don't think that we will be amenable for air travel, international travel at this point of time. Malaysia has opened some routes, especially because routes between green zones. I think Malaysia, South Korea, Malaysia is open, and a few others. But I still feel the air travel between states will be on the downside at this point of time. The fear will be there. I don't think I'll be traveling this year. Probably middle of next year. See if things get better. Arrival in March down by 57%. Okay, a loss of 67 million arrivals, all right, and a loss of about USD 80 billion in receipt. 100 to 120 million people are who have been involved. There is a risk of job loss. People who are in the travel industries are taking pay cuts. My brother-in-law, who works for Emirates in Dubai, he did not lose his job, but he has to take a pay cut as well. So I think there will be this one industry which will be impacted. I don't think there will be any major changes to this at this point of time, although some countries are already looking at this. Okay. Let me just go one or two more slides. All right, what is the second point I would like to make when regard to this is what this has to do with religion. Okay, and we have seen during the COVID-19 there was a much public anger for spreading regarding certain individuals or groups, for religious groups, for spreading what we call the COVID-19 virus. If you look at the 4 photos there, the first photo here, this is actually Korea. All right, there was this congregation in Korea which decided to have massive congregation despite the ban, and also they also do not practice social distancing. In fact, they encourage people to touch one another. So he came under hot soup, and he blamed the government, the Korean government, to be what do you call that, to attack, or rather to condemn their religious way of life. All right. The second one, which is this, it is written in Malay, the mosque has been closed down. There was the Tablighi and also the what do you call that, the Tafiz schools, the Quranic schools in Malaysia, in several parts of Malaysia, were tested positive for cases. In fact, in Malaysia, the biggest cluster that contributed to coronavirus, one of the biggest, is actually the Islamic Tabligh movement. We had a massive gathering, and these guys went all over and spread. Okay, so that's one. This is actually the Tabernacle Church in Louisiana. This guy also defied the ban, and this is the New Delhi, the Tablighi movement in New Delhi that created problems. So there is also a lot of sudden fear against this religious movement, who seem to be very irresponsible, and they put the lives of their what do you call that, groups as well as others at risk, right? So I think these are some of the and there was, because of this, there was a rise in religious extremism in terms of the language spoken, okay, in terms of expressions in the social media. But I also believe that there is a role played by the faith system in promoting resilience, level-headedness, kindness, compassion, and cooperation. This has been seen in throughout the world as well. So basically, to me, the faith system, I like to use the word faith system because it's more neutral rather than religion, has a role to play in reconciliation and also moderating the adversities that comes together with the new way of worship. Okay. Values in crisis: gratitude, resilience, level-headedness, kindness, and compassion. This is something that we have to work towards. We have seen great examples of kindness and gratitude, of those frontliners, right, or throughout the world, right? Appreciation to these people who put their lives at risk to save others. Okay. Conclusion: New Dawn, getting used to living with a killer virus. I don't think it's not going to go. It will be here for some time. I hope not long. All right. We have to learn the new norms. All right. The new normal will affect everybody. All right. So everybody have the moral responsibility to embrace it. There is also global focus on pandemic. As we look at coming out with a vaccine, we have to change our lifestyle. International system also needs to adapt to challenges. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Ravi Chandran Murthy, sir, from Malaysia, National University, Malaysia. अब प्रोग्राम को आगे बढ़ाते हुए मैं आगे दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी इंडिया से ही प्रोफेसर बालगणपति देवरा कोंडा को बुलाना चाहूंगा। सर अगर मेरी आवाज सुन रहे हैं तो प्लीज डाइस पर आएं और अपने व्यूज रखें सर।
Hello, good
हेलो।
afternoon. Am I
हाँ सर।
audible?
यस सर, बिल्कुल क्लियर आ रही है।
Right, great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. Uh, Professor Kumar Ratnam ji, Member Secretary of ICPR as well as ICHR. Namaskar sir, how are you? Nice to see you. And Professor Ravichandran Murthy, we met couple of times at various conferences. And thank you so much. Wonderful talk, Professor Ravichandran Murthy ji. Professor Vasudev ji and Professor Hindi Hassan, Professor Eric Humayu and Professor Keval Naik ji and other friends who have joined us today. My special thanks to Dr. Anil Kumar Singh for this wonderful opportunity that he has given me to be present among you with very group of distinguished scholars. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. Let me just reflect on. Yeah, in fact, I am immensely benefited by Professor Ravichandra Murthy's argument and presentation, which tried to show us, take us from individual level to the international level and try to explain how the impact of COVID-19 on the world and life is. I'm slightly deviating from whatever he has done, and I would be doing a philosophical analysis basically since I am a philosopher. Now, to begin with, if we are talking about the impact of present scenario on the life and world, obviously we are referring to the present scenario is referring to COVID-19 pandemic, right? Which is a transition time. And when we say the impact of present scenario on life and world, what we are trying to say is that there was a normal and there is a transition period in which we are all, and there would be a new normal about which we are trying to like make assumptions, predictions, whatever, creatively engage with the present and try to think of what could be the future new normal or what ought, because some of us we want something to be there in new normal. So with this kind of an attitude, we go forward as intellectuals. Yeah, I have to thank these two organizations for thinking of this seminar, International Innovation Forum and International Buddhist Centre. I don't know how these two think tanks have come together to think of this webinar where international platform is created for all of us. So let me begin with life. Okay, we are referring to the impact of present scenario on life and world. If that is the case, let me begin with life. What do we mean by life? If you are living all alone at a particular place, do we call that life? No. Life is assumed only in relation to the other. Okay, if you're in a I'm sorry, but if one of us are in a hospitalized ventilator, okay, then we don't call it completely to be a life, because it's a vegetative state which we talk about. Life means you have to act and react to the world around you. Your impact should be there on the world, and the impact of the world should in turn be there on you. Only then we call it life, moving ahead, okay, improving. And if that is the case, then every human being, each one of us, act and react in the world. And act and react to what? The factual given world, the facticity. We react and act to the facticity that is given to us, and that is how we become beings in the world, right? We are thrown into the world and we are beings in the world. That is how. And how do we react and act with the world? Through our psychophysical mechanism. And some of us assume that along with this psychophysical, we also have a spiritual dimension and cosmic dimension as well. So now I have three things. The individual tries to act and react to the factually given world through his psychophysical and spiritual cosmic mechanism that he has, which we call sometimes with the name self. So this is life. Life involves all these aspects, and it is not that this psychophysical spiritual mechanism acts and reacts to the world, and it is only one-way impact. No, it is two-way impact. In fact, the psychophysical mechanism, the self, and the factual world impact each other. Okay, the impact is mutual on each other. We act and react and change the world, and the world acts and reacts and changes us. Okay, this whole thing is the life that we talk about, and this life has certain characteristics. These characteristics are freedom. All of us enjoy freedom, and this character, this life that we are talking about has also something called predictability. Okay, predictability is the one which makes us, which comforts us. Okay, we should be able to predict what happens next. Only then you would be comfortable with yourself and comfortable with the life, and that's how you start acting and reacting to the world. And along with this predictability, there is something called repeatability. So your actions, whatever you act, ought to be repeatable. If they are not repeatable, then such kind of acts you try to avoid. So this is another important characteristic of life, where freedom is important, repeatability is important, predictability is important, and all these things together create another important notion in each one of us, which is necessary for life, that is trust. We start trusting the other, trusting the situation, trusting that this would happen, okay? Trusting that this individual would behave in this way. So this is very important, and this is how the life is built. Now, let me tell you, this life that I'm talking about is existent in the, of course, if I'm referring to India, then pre-January 2020 state. Okay, that is the normal that we are referring to, in which there was predictability, there was repeatability, there was freedom, there was trust. Okay, so this was the situation in the normal, which is pre-January 2020 situation. And now we are in the transition where COVID-19 has affected us. So this normal, okay, I'm referring to, which was pre-January 2020, has these characteristics. Now, what happened? Okay, that is the question. Like, we say there was normal, and if we are talking about new normal, which means we are hinting that something has happened to normal, right? And what happened to this normal is to be properly understood through our epistemology and metaphysics. That's very important for each one of us to understand what kind of new normal that we can envisage or predict. So now the second question is, what happened to this normal? Is it that normal completely disappeared? Life in the normal is completely disappeared? And if it is disappeared, if it has got affected, how does it get affected? How did it get affected? That is very important, which we have to understand. So, as I said, life means the individual acting and reacting to the factual world through his psychophysical mechanism, which is self. If we understand it that way, the factual world, given world, is not, it did not change at all. It is the same world. Only thing is, we have temporarily suspended our own interaction with that. We have temporarily suspended our own interaction with it, and that is how, if I am allowed to borrow the phenomenologist's perspective, the world is bracketed for the time being. Okay, so if it is bracketed, how did we bracket it? We bracketed it through lockdown, through the mechanism of quarantine, through social distancing. So with these three mechanisms, we have bracketed the world that is given to us, which, which creates a kind of uncertainty in the minds of each one of us. And this uncertainty is not of one or two fold, it is manifold. And if we are looking at, let me explicate one or two of them. For example, there is a temporal uncertainty that is existent, which means how long the present situation is going to continue, none of us are sure about it. So this creates a kind of uncertainty. And there is a spatial uncertainty. You don't know which space is safe for you, right? This creates a new kind of anxiety which we have to grapple with. And along with spatio-temporal kind of forms of uncertainty, there is another very important kind of uncertainty that exists in each one of us, which is in terms of epistemology, knowing. Okay, we are all happy as long as we know what it is. We're all happy as long as we don't know it. Okay, so knowing and not knowing is the zone which leaves us very comfortable with our own life. But imagine a situation where you know only half or probably a fragment of the unknown. Okay, which means we are talking about the COVID-19 pandemic, and you know COVID-19 virus, and you know only half of what it is, and probably you know only a fragment of what it is, and that threatens us more. Okay, that creates a larger uncertainty than spatiotemporal ones that I have spoken about. So knowing only half of the unknown is the major concern for the uncertainty that creates in each one of us. And that creates a kind of ontological disturbance in the mind, because you don't know how to react, how to act and react to the world, how to relate yourself to the world, because reacting and acting and also trying to relate oneself to the world is largely encompassed by a kind of uncertainty that I have already mentioned. And this uncertainty is the one which creates a problem to all of us. And that is how we need to re-understand or reinvent mechanisms of uh, understanding oneself and the one's relation of oneself with the other. Self and the other is to be now redefined, re-understood, reconceptualized. Okay, when I say self and the other, what do I mean by that? What kind of re-understanding, reconceptualization is required? This is where I would suggest self in the other. Okay, these are the possible ways of looking at the relation, no, reconceptualize the relation of the individual, where self in the other, which means the other would be seen in the self, and self with the other, self has to go along with the other, and then other in the self. Okay, these are the very important notions that we have to through which we have to reconceptualize to build the trust, build the freedom, build the predictability of the human behavior, build the repeatability of the human actions that are possible and with which we are comfortable so far. So this new normal that we are talking about has to look at these things into consideration. And let me just say two or three things about this new normal, which is wonderfully explained by Professor Ravichandra Murthy. I don't have to add anything more, but I have a different point. I have a couple of.
आपको प्रोसेस दिखा गया, आपको सुनना ही नहीं है तो.
Oh, I have a couple of different points to make. So let me do that. Okay. So the given, as I said, the given or the factual is suspended now. If that is suspended, then what is it that we have to do? We have to rework on the human mechanism itself, the spiritual, physical, psychological, or cosmic mechanism that we have. We cannot suspend our own mechanism, but we have to reorient our own mechanism, which is very important for us. And if the factual world is suspended and bracketed, which means there is no repetition possible, there is no predictability possible, there is no trust possible. When I say trust, what I mean is it is not that you cannot trust the other. You cannot trust the other, of course, but not because you cannot trust the other, not because the other would be harmful to you knowingly. The other could be an innocent and ignorant guy who would be harming you. No, that is how the trust is to be re-understood in a different way, because the other could be an asymptomatic carrier of COVID-19, and that creates a problem in you. No, that is how you cannot meet the other, even if you think that the other is healthy. That is how, even if even if you are meeting a healthy guy, as per whatever standards, you have to be careful. You cannot shake hands, or you cannot remove the mask, because he may be an asymptomatic carrier. So that is how the trust is has reached a different level, where suspicion would be looming large in the mind. The ontology is completely encompassed by the suspicion than trust. And this is what occasions the earlier understanding of humanness and other related concepts to humanness. And that is how not just the factual world, and even the conception of humanity and humanness also get bracketed. And that is how we don't know whether we should completely go with Aristotelian assumption that man is a social animal. Probably we have to revise it. At least in the post-COVID world, new normal that we are envisaging, we may not define it in the similar way, right? We may make some more additions or clauses to the statement. And the uncertainty that I'm talking about, uh, yeah, yeah. What is it that occasions this new normal that we are talking about? Okay, I have 3 points to make here. One is what occasions this new normal is number one, ambiguity. Ambiguity, both ambiguity in the sense that, as I mentioned, there is an ambiguity between symptomatic and asymptomatic. Okay, in the world you don't know whether who is who, what is what. So this ambiguity is the one which occasions the new normal world that we are looking at. And there is always an ambivalence in choosing to act. Okay, see, in the normal world, you know what act is right and what act is not right. Okay, what act is wrong. But now in this present scenario, in the transition period, you don't know what is right or what is wrong, in the sense that whatever act that you may choose may result to be inappropriate. So you don't know that there is a kind of ambivalence in the action itself. Okay, and inability to distinguish trust and mistrust. We will not be able to distinguish between trust and mistrust, and probably this inability is a very important aspect of the new normal that we are going to reach. And there is one more last point that is very important in the new normal, which occasions the new normal, that is epistemological impossibility of going back. Okay, once you know about the COVID-19 situation, and once these generations of people who are living with us have this COVID-19 in their epistemology, for their lifelong, you cannot go back to the pre COVID-19 or normal. There is an epistemological impossibility in all our minds, and this creates a kind of uncertainty. And this is what is going to occasion the next new normal that we are looking at. But I don't mean to paint a very gloomy picture of new normal. Okay, I'm only saying that these are the things which occasion, which would be there in our epistemology, which have to be taken into consideration so that we can deal with the new normal or create our own new normal. Okay, it's not that you would be just dealing with it; you would also be co-creating the new normal. So each one of us would be a part of this co-creation, and how do we do that is very important for us, and that is where I would consider that as, because it has to begin with the individual again. And if it has to begin with the individual, what is very important within the individual is alignment and realignment. This realignment, concept of realignment, as it is available in psychology and even alignment means, if most of us have four wheelers, and we know that when we take the car to the garage, what happens is putting each of the parts in relation to the other in consonance with the other. Okay, so each one of us have certain parts in ourselves, like physical, psychological, spiritual, and cosmic, whatever parts that we have, and we have to keep each one of them in consonance with the other, so that the individual alignment happens in a perfect way, which would pave way for a similar kind of alignment with the world, that is the other that we have. Okay, other here is other beings, other human beings, the nature, everything we have, which is at our disposal, which we have been using and exploiting so far. So this alignment is very important for each one of us, which would help us in reconceptualizing what is social normal in the new normal, as rightly pointed by Professor Ravichandran Murthy. The new political would be changing completely, and international, global that we have talked about is also going to change completely. and family life itself is going to change completely. So if both wife and husband are working and going out, then as he rightly pointed out, you may not kiss your loved ones anymore, right? That becomes a big barrier, right? Which means the emotions don't get transferred, like transference of emotions becomes an impossibility. So this means the new normal, whatever has occasioned the new normal, would limit or help us to reconceptualize what would be social, what would be familial, what would be political, and what would be global. So all these aspects are very important to take note of. And what is here required is creative innovation on each one of the individuals in trying to build a new kind of globalization or new kind of world order that we are looking at. So these are few of my thoughts that I thought I should share with all of you. Thank you so much once again, Anilesh Kumarji, for this wonderful opportunity that you have given. I thank the chairperson, Kumar Ratnamji, and my co-speakers who are here for today. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Balagadpati Devarakonda sir from Delhi University, India. Thank you very much for your valuable thoughts and जो आपने बातें कही सर बड़ा अच्छी थी। मानव संवेदनाओं में व्यक्त करने के जो हमारे पुराने तरीके हैं उनमें जो बदलाव आएगा और जो नॉर्मल हमारा सेट होगा बिल्कुल अलग ही होगा। बहुत सारी बातें हैं जिनके बारे में तो शायद अभी हम समझ भी नहीं पा रहे हैं कि ऐसा होगा या कैसा होगा। तो थैंक यू सर फॉर योर वैल्यूएबल थॉट्स। और कार्यक्रम को तेजी से आगे बढ़ाते हुए अब मैं अपने अगले चीफ गेस्ट प्रोफेसर बासुलाल कर्ण, ही इज फ्रॉम नेपाल, उनको आमंत्रित करना चाहूंगा कि वो आए और डायस पे अपने विचार रखें। प्रोफेसर बासुलाल कर्ण फ्रॉम नेपाल।
Yeah.
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you, Dr. Girish Kumar Singh. Respected Professor Kumar Ratnam, Professor Ravi Chandra, and Balagnapati ji, who gave a very good insight about how the people are going to behave in upcoming days and what sort of the behavioral changes are expecting in order to survive with this corona. Especially, I am from Nepal, and there is one proverb. I just likely to start from my proverb. Say that Nepal is poor is because of landlocked. As we know, is 3 parts of this area is being covered by India and one is China. Similarly, Bangladesh is also the connectivity to the Nepal. Is it a real and the fact to say is the Nepal is the poor just because of landlocked country being? I do not believe so. I do believe as every people to have a 24 hours to work. And then certainly why the one is highly with the mental capacity and other is the poor. I do believe is the most important part that how you are intentionally activating your whole application of understanding towards. And that's why what I call it as a Nepal is a poor, not because of landlocked country, just because of mind-locked country. If we come up with the open mind, everything will be changed. So simply the things are, they staying in your mind. The lockdown, everywhere lockdown. So exactly this lockdown, what the things has been locked down. Only moving from one place to another one, only that you cannot count the people together in the contact. But the rest of the things are moving on. In fact, this would be also not true to say that everything is going on. So many things have been changed. Negatively, everywhere the negative aspects is coming. Is it the negative factors that are going to, we are going to survive with? What I say, that is it all this talk that I am going to talk it about is the factual talk? Obviously not. Look at the people are moving from the one place to another places, moving to their native time. even just by walking 8 days continuously. Look at the people, the migrants are moving from the one place to another. It's all the tragedy. They are hardly trying to live in one place and survive. Then what is the factors that causing them to move from the one place to another place? This is what making the people panic towards. Today's record is said that Nepal having 13,248 people are infected, out of which 10,089 is active case. 4 are, they readmitted, and then death is 29. What actually this data is showing in respect to the other countries, is very poor number of, I say is very less number of the people infected in Nepal. Is it a real to say that these are the only people affected, or there is a causing that the people are so much recorded is just because of the lower number of tests? So when we see the dimensions from the two different aspects, the things become very clear. As the prominent speakers just in front of me have already explained about the things, how the things are moving on. I do not believe that everything will be moving on in same condition. I'm a bit, the optimistic person. I always look the opportunity. And then each this coronavirus has locked everything, as I am just repeating the same sentence that I talked it prior. In fact, yes, some part of the things that has to be moved on, the industrial activities has to be carried on, the offices has to be run on. These things are not moving properly. Then how the things and economic will move on? Simply thinking in the mind may not be executed. Unless there is no execution, the things may not come up. Has to be in the physical, the physical presence. One more thing that I like to just come up with is this thought with saying that, there is one quote said by the Jack Ma. He said, "Never give up. Today is hard. Tomorrow will be worse. But the day after tomorrow will be a sunshine." What actually is? Why Indian Prime Minister Mr. Modi said the people to clap for the others? Why he says, "Let me have a candle and let me have the positive thought"? What is the reason behind this? Obviously, this gives people power to move ahead. Obviously, this gives the people energy that causes the people to self-survive. Obviously, this makes the people connectivity with one person to another person. Physically, connectivity is not, it is not only the part that brings the people together, but look, the people around the world, we are together on a virtual space. That means the tomorrow obviously will come as, very good and positive aspects for us. Some sort of the Nepalese scenario that I'm going to talk about, since I have been working in micro entrepreneurship from last 24 to 25 years, and that's why I am just putting some of the important aspects that Nepal is going to have some sort of the problems within which to work out is about how the impact of the COVID-19. If you're going to ask that, which area has not been affected by the COVID pandemic? I say every part. Behavior, which was the earlier talk already. Community, obviously, yes. Business, yeah, much more. Communication, obviously, yes. But the virtual communication has, the gone up and connected the people from the one place to the another place. Look, there are so many, the meeting apps that has come up as a big business nowadays. Cash transaction, obviously, yes. Travel is being totally affected by, and then supply chain. If I go on talking about the supply chain, then I must say where the crops have been produced. Talking about the rural and urban areas. In urban areas, there is a scarcity, and rural area, there is the wastage. It's because the people are hardly moving from the one place to the another place. Um, you know, the multiplier effects of the remittance, I'm just talking about the people that the migrants are moving from the other countries to the Nepal. You know, the maximum people who are coming from the India to the Nepal are being quarantined, and then many of them have claimed the COVID-19 as well. The figure says so. And it is said that in 20 and 21, sorry, 2001, in between 47.2 billions of Nepalese rupees were being received as the remittance. And then that multiplies 755 billions in 2018 and 19. How actually this is going to work? Is it going to settle down totally? Obviously. So when this economy gets a fall down, then obviously there is going to have a big impact over this one. Nepal is, the data says that almost 29% the contribution in GDP is just because of the remittance. Look, if this remittance falls down, then how the economical growth will go up? If economical growth is not there, then development, all the development aspects will be stuck down. And just because of the development, if there is no development, if there is no job for the youths, obviously the crisis will come not only in the physical part, rather than in the mental part as well. So once the crisis comes into the mental part, then it becomes very hard to get rid of it. Why? That's the big problem out here. You know, just climbing up and falling down so quickly to down, and then once getting up energy to comes up is very, very difficult therein. And that's why the whole mass together trying to overcome in two aspects from this corona. One, how to overcome from the disease, the infections, the rate of infection, so on. And second one is that how to boost the people psychologically, how to make the people aware psychologically. That's a very important part. And then moreover, you know, the large number of the laborers who are entering into the Nepal, I do see again that are the two aspects. The one, are they going to settle for the rest of their entire life in Nepal only? And then again comes the question, how they are now going to plan their life to survive within the Nepal. Are they going to imply their skills for, involving themselves, those skills into the income generating activities or what? Again, there are the large number of the things that they can do it. The one, they can invest their skills and some sort of the saved money for a small types of the business in corporation, or they can directly involve it into the agricultural. You know, the agriculture, there is a big process, you know, the opportunity that we see here in Nepal for the agricultural. But that, again, there is idea has to be implemented along with the physical inputs. So another aspect that I was talking about, these workers, the migrant laborers, or the people, the one who are coming in a mass, large mass, a huge mass here in Nepal, are they planning to move to the other sides of? Because if this coronavirus going to have for the longer period in the individual's life, the people really start coping and start living with this coronavirus. So they will be used to live it with. That means the fear goes up. That means they will find out the alternative part of this one, as already said by the Professor Ravichandra sir. That means to say that if those migrants, the skilled migrants are again now starting to move from the Nepal to the other sides, then what type of the skilled persons or unskilled persons are living in Nepal? That will be a big problem. And then here the role of the government and the other agencies becomes so important. Some sort of the more information that I have collected is around, the massive returnings are really expected, as I said it before. Opportunity for the financial, is very high, and then how does this new context is actually looking like? The main options. Battle over the numbers. This is a big battle for the Nepal. If the migrants coming back to the Nepal, if these all the workers are coming back to the Nepal for the holy settlement, unless they get themselves involved into the economical activities, that will obviously going to create a big problem to the Nepal government. And Nepal government has to come up with a strong policy implementing for proper settlement. It's because the large number of the jobs, having a problem out here, and then a huge number of the people are, going to get the unemployment, and then those unemployment will obviously hamper, will give a, the large impact over the economy. Skill and occupation of the migrants. Uh, it has been said that 74% of Nepali is the male worker as unskilled. Look at this percentage. This is actually the clicking percentage out here. And then main trades are basically is the constructions, and then hospitality sectors, electricity, machine techniques, diversity, securities. These are the major areas where, these workers actually work there. Difficult to predict which countries and occupations will be most affected by. This is the big problem. And then how does actually the new context look like? What do migrants do in the, the general, and then when they return back, impact of the remittance? That's talked it before. Is the timeline given? How long this pandemic is going to sustain? And what policy will obviously work to overcome all these problems? And then a risk of social unrest and the political instability is one another challenges over here. Recently, we are now going to face, the one another major issues related to the citizenship. So I always, the concentrates towards how to create, the jobs in Nepal. This stands as a major challenges. Then what I say that people should be, working in diversified field work rather than looking to get an employment under the Nepal government. They should also come up with their skills utilization and involvement of economic generating activities. Opportunities are maximum. I say that there is a big opportunity if those skills are coming and working in the right manner. Obviously, there is, vocal for local. This applies to everybody. If those people, once they go with the taste of their own products and they become the used to, their own products, obviously the economy will uplift. And once the economy uplift, then it becomes so easier for the government to, to come over the problems of the many work, not only the one aspects of the COVID-19, there are many other aspects. Right time to be self-independent economically. This is a big things that the people should understand. This is the time to grow up and then for the self-independent and self-independent economically. Resource mapping to identify the core market and products like agriculture, herbs, livestock, the expert services like the IT based. These are the scattered a large amount of, the areas that are going to create a very good opportunity for all those youth, the one who believes in transactions. And competency enhancement in agricultural production processing. Look around the supermarket, agro, food processing. This would be the best idea. The Nepal, in every 50 kilometer, you will get that diversified culture, diversified, the environment, so many things are there. We are reaching in herbs, serves. We are reaching, water resources and many more. This would be the best areas so far, I do believe. And then youth here in Nepal is highly energetic, and if they are being involved in IT sectors would be another area where the individuals can, the grown up, and then circular economy, that is reuse, reduce, and recycling. this area also gives immense, the opportunity for the youth in upcoming. How to, the poverty side.
सर कंक्लूड करिए.
हाँ हो गया जी, ठीक है, just a minute.
कर.
Sure, sorry. Okay, so
समय की मर्यादा को ध्यान में रखें.
that's okay. So what I come up with all the factors is that the psychologically and mental involvement to come up with this the pandemic is very, very necessary. And then all this about the today's presentation. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Vasu sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Vasulal Karn from Nepal. Thank you very much. And now our next eminent guest of today's session is Professor Mehdi Hassan from Bangladesh. If he is listening to me, please unmute your mic and come to deliver your speech.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
First, thanks, Anilish Kumar Singh. Actually, I joined with this web seminar some days before. Ultimately, here in Bangladesh, particularly in my place where I'm staying, I got a little bit problem here. For this reason, my WhatsApp was not functioning. Basically, sir, contact with me in WhatsApp. So, inshallah, all problem I tried to overcome. So, from now, it will be very easier for me to connect it with this renowned group. What I can say, scholars are here. Most of them are in doctorate, and I got from I am hearing the speech and course from the teachers who are in Malaysia, Nepal, Malaysia, Ravi sir, and Nepal, this teacher. I have to recollect and read out name of all of them who are arranging this type of seminar. I am getting or feeling lucky enough to be joined with this group. Ultimately, I for this disconnection, something I missed. So ultimately, as far as I studied from yesterday, so I understand that our basic discussion matter is going on present scenario or impact regarding coronavirus. So ultimately, internationally discussion I heard, particularly from condition of Malaysia, Pakistan, India. So very abject condition is going on in my country. 2 days, the number is death toll number is 623. That is the first day of from March. From March, this is the first day. We are ultimately in panic and anxiety for this number. Ultimately, you have the idea about my country. So the all situation is not favorable, but basically that depend on the welfare-based state. So our health condition and our all situation. So this is very abstract. So particularly, I tried to write something and I will send it today regarding my personal assumption, not that will be the corona pandemic and economic stagnation of my country. So from that side, I like to tell something by giving you the opportunity. Thanks once again for giving me such opportunity. Mainly, I like to tell about the corona pandemic and economic stagnation of middle stage retailer. Particularly, I am staying in such place beside of Dhaka. You can say around Dhaka. So I like to tell that is the semi-urban area. So in this area, basically based on garments industry. So a lot of garments industry worker were staying beside of my surroundings. But after studying of the corona pandemic, of course, it is true that the corona pandemic, so most of the garments, they started to give them the less salary by which the workers started to live. So for this reason, here, some of the local retailer, that is, I can say shopkeepers, they are facing a very abject situation financially. If the worker leave, their business goes to be deteriorated day by day. So my study will be here, and I just basically yesterday I joined and I informed, and so inshallah in the next time, or next seminar or next opportunity, if I get finishing these topics, I will express. Thanks again, all my I can say all my colleagues. Basically, I am a university teacher, so thanks again, and thanks a lot for giving me such opportunity. And from today, I will heart and soul try to connect it with you. How long this type of seminar will go? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Mehdi Hassan from Bangladesh. Thank you very much. And now our next eminent guest is from Nigeria, and he is Eric Omeju. I think he is in the group. He has joined. If he is listening to me, please mute your mic. Yes, please. Professor Eric Omeju, please come and deliver your speech, please. Professor Eric Omeju.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Okay, sir. Please come. Welcome, sir. Please.
Yes. My name is Eric Omeju. I'm a teacher of philosophy in the National University of Nigeria, Abuja. And thank you for this opportunity to listen to eminent scholars make contribution on this important issue of COVID-19. And I also express my appreciation of the organizers of this conference for giving us this opportunity. Now, I want to talk about social relations in Africa in time of COVID-19 pandemic. Social relations in Africa. You know how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected it. So, those of you who have gone through the African philosophy will know that the African is essentially a relational being. It finds its fulfillment in being with the other and then in being for the other. So based on this, the African is defined as a relational being. This is the essence of communalism, African communalism. Now, true to his communalistic influence, you know, towards the beginning of the pandemic in Africa, the spread of the pandemic in Africa, most Africans mobilized assistance. These assistance went to less privileged, the poor, the sick, you know, at the beginning of the pandemic. Now, doing this, the African thought that he was, you know, extending his idea of sharing. You know, we need to share, we understand sharing as part of being human, as part of what makes us Africans. However, as the pandemic began to bite more, things also began to change. So you can imagine the social disequilibrium that is as the consequence of the pandemic. Now, the other, that is the other person who previously, before the pandemic, the Africa viewed as complementary. So the other complements him. Now, in the course of the pandemic, instead of being a complementary, the other became help. The other became help. And now, this other becoming help has consequences. Number one consequence is erosion of trust on the other. Erosion of trust on the other. Why is it so? Because the other now becomes a harbinger of disease and therefore death. You know, in Africa, there is an expression that death knocks on one's door. Death can knock on your door. You know, this was a metaphorical expression before now. Now with the pandemic, any visitor to your house is dead, actually knocking on one's door. Now, indeed, even the hospitals, exemplify this, you know, more than any other group. Now, in Africa, many hospitals were known to have turned away sick people who were brought to them. You know, it does not matter what the sick person is suffering. The point is that you are sick at the period of pandemic, at the period of COVID-19. And most hospitals that were not prepared to handle the COVID-19 crisis simply turned these sick people away from the hospital. And they simply went home to die because most of them were not suffering from the COVID-19. So the other became death. Everybody now becomes afraid of the other person. Now, this mistrust also extends to government officials and then health officials. These are supposed to disseminate information about the pandemic, you know, to the general public. They are also distrusted. Now, the thinking is that this group of people, that they do not tell the truth about the pandemic. Now, the question is whether these guys actually have the truth, what we may call the truth. What do they know about the pandemic? You know, the ordinary person in the street, they doesn't know whether these guys have enough knowledge, enough information about the pandemic, but then he assumes that the government official, that the health worker has enough information, but then he's not giving this information. The little that he's giving, he thinks he's also not saying the truth. Now, the question is, even if the health worker, even if the government official, if they know the entire truth about the pandemic, how ready is it to let out this entire truth to the wider society, knowing that this could lead to some sort of panic, you know, some sort of social crisis, you know? So this is the challenge regarding to erosion of trust. Now, the second consequence is that there is also what I call a new form of selfishness, a new form of selfishness. You know, the African is known, I told you from the beginning that the African is a relational being. You know, he lives for the other person. He lives with the other person. He shares with the other person. But then as the pandemic begins to buy harder, and then there is lockdown, people began to hoard what they have. People began to amass whatever that is already in the market and then to keep this for themselves. So the need to share, the need to share gradually starts diminishing. So people are no longer sharing what they have. It becomes each man for himself or herself. And then beyond this also, there are also some new vices. You know, some of the vices that were not there, you know, that were not prevalent before the COVID-19 crisis. Some of these vices started. For instance, there is preponderance of armed robbery. You know, most people have lost their job, and there is also no way to go and look for a new job, and they must survive. So you see people in this category moving into other people's house, breaking into houses to also steal what other people have stored in for themselves. Now, there are also some sexual violence, like rape and incest. These things were not known before now. But because of the COVID-19, people were locked up, most people were suffering from depression and others. And then what do? Some resorted to, you know, engaging in some inappropriate sexual behaviors. So these are the consequences of the pandemic, you know, how it has affected the social relation of people in Africa. Of course, I'm speaking from Nigeria. So these are what we are experiencing now. I think I have come to the end of my own discussion. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Professor Eric Omaju from Nigeria. Thank you very much sharing your views with us and connecting with us थैंक यू वेरी मच। एंड नाउ हम लोग कार्यक्रम के समापन की ओर बढ़ रहे हैं धीरे धीरे, और आज के जो हमारे इस कार्यक्रम के अध्यक्ष हैं, जो अध्यक्षता कर रहे हैं, जो चेयरपर्सन है प्रोफेसर कुमार रत्नम, जो कि मेंबर सेक्रेटरी ICPR और ICHR इंडिया हैं, मैं उनको आमंत्रित करूंगा कि वो डायस पे आए और अपने विचारों से हमें लाभान्वित करें। प्रोफेसर कुमार रत्नम सर, प्लीज सर।
Thank you.
वेलकम सर। सर प्लीज।
It is a wonderful event which has started 3 days back. First of all, I should say thanks to Dr. A.K. Singh and the principal of the college and the managing committee of the college. And I am much happy and excited to be here. Although I have to attend a very important meeting at Rani Durgavati University at 5 o'clock. In spite of that, I choose this Khanna Degree College. My very beloved college, rather. I visited more than 50 times to that college. That's why I am very much here, and short of time, wonderful lectures were given on the impact of present scenario on life and world by the keynote speaker and Professor Bala Ganpati ji, honorable our member of the council and eminent scholar, and other speakers from Malaysia, Nepal, Bangladesh. They have were focused in the starting this first I'm audible?
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Yeah.
Continue.
So in that way, we have, I think this webinar has covered all the aspects related to this pandemic, as well as and its impact on life and the world. So far, I feel and see this pandemic, it is an emotional attack rather than the physical attack. Because under lockdown period, we face so many difficulties, mental agony, depression, etc. In spite of that, after this pandemic, as well Professor Ramchandran said, a new world will create a new atmosphere, and the new opportunities will come in force. In the starting, Professor Keval Nayak emphasized upon the environmental aspect of this pandemic, and he also discussed the misuses of the nature and beautifully defined and emphasized upon the topic. The next speaker, Professor Ravi Ramchandran Murthy from Malaysia, he has given slides and focus upon the unlearning behavior and consciousness is the cause of depression, and also focused upon the role of the individuals in the new normal. After that, the learned philosopher and the council member, Professor Bala Ganpati ji, beautifully defined the mental state and depression focused up during the lockdown period. And next speaker, Professor Basudev Lal from Nepal, he wonderfully expressed his views in the positive manner. The whole lecture was based on positivity and opportunities. Professor Mehndi Hassan and another speaker from Indonesia also delivered beautifully and represented their views regarding this pandemic. As far the pandemic is concerned and already being discussed, I hope in the last so many sessions, there are every aspect. What in the circumstances, the whole world, when the developed country or the developing country or the countries, the small country or the big countries are in the same form and they are facing the same condition and they are so helpless after this pandemic. In that way, the India can play a very important role as the world is seeing very seriously toward the lifestyle, values, ethics of the Indians rather than the Hindu rituals. As always, we used to be clean and social distancing rather the physical distancing. In for an example, when we pray to the God and submitted any flower even to the Lord Shiva or the gods, after that we use the word Hastam Prachalyami. In that way, it is a very ancient tradition in our culture to be cleanness. If a person comes to our house, we used to first he provide a glass of water to wash. And rather it is playing a very important and vital role in this pandemic period. Is the Ekantavas is a very unique example of for that. In India, it is very common when we feel depressed, mentally upset, we go to the Ekantavas. Now we can use a term Grahabas. That was not Ekantavas because we were living with our children and the family. That's why that is the Grahabas. Lockdown period provided an opportunity to live with their families, to understand the values of the life, and we should think over it again why the India is great. And India can give a lesson to the world to establish their ethical and the values of the lifestyle. In that perspective, after this pandemic, when the new world will come in existence, so we should think what shall be the scenario of the world. As after this pandemic, the total educational system will be changed and the lifestyle will be changed. The economy will also be changed. The job opportunity, job style, corporate life, everything will be affected after this pandemic. So I hope that after this great event, the conclusions of the seminar will be fruitful to the India as well as to the world to decide the lifestyle after this pandemic. A great change will definitely come in the lifestyle of everyone. So we should think over it, emotions, sentiments, and the thinking of the person to person and the lifestyle, how it will be changed after this pandemic. I feel that after this pandemic, the values and ethics of Hindu mythology will come in force and the world will bound to follow it. And I hope that this webinar be concluded by the wonderful discussions and the results, findings, etc. And I wish to all the organizers, especially to Dr. A.K. Singh and the principal administration of the Khanna Degree College. Actually, the short of time, I am so sorry to leave from this platform. I have to join Rani Durgavati Vishwavidyalaya just after it at 5 o'clock. I am again thankful. I pay my regards to all the audience, scholars, philosophers, and from all over the world, those who are connected with this seminar. And I hope and wish to grant success for this seminar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, प्रोफेसर कुमार रत्नम सर, आपने इतनी अच्छी बातें हमें बताई, सारा कंक्लूजन एक साथ दे दिया इस पूरे सेमिनार का, उसके लिए बहुत बहुत बधाई सर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। अब हम अपने विदाई सत्र में बिल्कुल अंत में पहुंच चुके हैं और हम उसके लिए आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। और ये पता है कि मैं ये बताना चाहूंगा कि इस सत्र में ही केवल हमारे 6 देशों के प्रतिनिधि शामिल हैं, और बाकी अन्य में अभी हमारे डॉक्टर नीलेश सर अपनी रिपोर्ट देंगे और बताएंगे कितने देशों के प्रतिनिधि हमारे यहाँ शामिल हुए। और ये कार्यक्रम अब विदाई की ओर, समापन की ओर है। और ये बड़ा कष्टकारी समय होता है जब विदाई का समय आता है। इतना अच्छा कार्यक्रम 4 दिन हम लोगों से चला है, हम लोग खाली भी हैं, घर पे बैठे हुए हैं। इतनी अच्छी बौद्धिक चर्चा सब लोगों के माध्यम से हुई है।
I am physically feeling with you, sir. Rather, but I am much excited to it.
Yes sir, yes sir. सर सुरेश सर भी जुड़े हुए हैं सर, आपके जूनियर रहे हैं वहाँ पे मेरठ में।
अच्छा, रत्नेश जी भी और हमारे पीताम्बर दास जी भी, मैं उनको एक कनेक्ट कर सकता हूं।
जी सर, सभी लोग जुड़े हुए हैं।
मेंबर ऑफ आवर काउंसिल।
सर
ये भी हमारे मेहनत
हो रही है।
अरे आवाज गड़बड़ हो रही है, देखिए मेरा। हाँ, इसे आगे बढ़ाते हैं। हाँ ठीक है, और आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं इसको, कार्यक्रम को हम। और हमें एक अमेरिकन उपन्यासकार हैं जॉनी एस्टेन, उनका एक कोट है, वो याद आ रहा है इस समय कि डिपार्चर टाइम इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट हॉरिबल थिंग दैट वी एवर फेस इन लाइफ, और दिस इज द डिपार्चर टाइम। और हम लोग विदाई दे रहे हैं सबको, तो बड़ा अजीब सी फीलिंग है। और इसी के साथ में अपने बड़े भाई और साथी और जो इस कार्यक्रम के पूरे सूत्रधार हैं, डॉक्टर अनिलेश सिंह, जो हमारे कॉलेज में ही फिलॉसफी डिपार्टमेंट के हेड भी हैं, उनको बुलाना चाहूंगा कि वो वोट ऑफ थैंक्स दें। डॉक्टर अनिलेश सिंह।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, सभी लोगों को जो यहाँ पे अपने यहाँ से, भारत से या भारत के बाहर से जो भी लोग यहाँ उपस्थित हुए। 4 दिनों का ये राष्ट्रीय अंतर्राष्ट्रीय वेबिनार में लगभग 12 देशों के 56 पार्टिसिपेंट बाहर के हैं और कुल 54 वो पैनल्स थे, 178 पेपर प्रस्तुत हुए हैं। और कुल मिलाकर के 4 दिनों से हम लोग जो मेहनत कर रहे थे उसको एक परिणति पे लाए हैं। आगे उम्मीद है कि और आगे काम कर पाएंगे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद के साथ बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सभी लोगों का। गिरीश जी।
जी सर, मैं आ गया।
हाँ, बस इसको कंक्लूड करें, अध्यक्ष जी की अनुमति हो।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, मैं तो बिल्कुल एकदम
समापन की घोषणा कर दीजिए
दुर्गावती।
समापन है कार्यक्रम का सर, घोषणा कर दीजिए
जी।
और इसी के साथ कार्यक्रम समाप्त हुआ सर। ये
जी, धन्यवाद सभी का, एक बार बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।